Okay, match one with Mono Blue Delver. We are on the play, and our hand is pretty good. We have Delver of Secrets and a counterspell. We also have a bonus creature in Fairy Miscreant and a Ponder. This is a very good start. Alright, we will lead with Delver of Secrets. That's almost always the turn one play with this deck. Even when you have a Fairy Miscreant and a Cloud of Fairies in hand, you generally want to lead with Delver. Just because as early as it flips, the earlier it flips, the better, because you want to start getting in for 3 instead of 1 or 2 damage. Not going to reveal an island. So I can hold up and counterspell, or I can Ponder and then Fairy Miscreant. Ponder has the upside of potentially letting me set up to flip this Delver. I think that's probably the better choice, so I'm going to lead off with a Ponder. Alright. Nothing to flip the Delver with, but I do like these cards, especially in conjunction with the Fairy Miscreant in our hand. So I think I'm actually going to keep these cards. Island, Ninja, Spell Stutter, and I'm not going to shuffle. Attack for 1. Play a Fairy Miscreant, and see if we get Force Spiked here. We do, okay. So it looks like we're going against an opposing mono blue deck. This makes our Spell Stutter worse since Fairy Miscreant did not resolve, but that's okay. They go bottom top with Preordain, and they leave open mana potentially for Force Spike. Not going to reveal the Ninja. So here I can leave open Spell Stutter Counterspell, or I can put in Ninja. And against Mono Blue Delver, I really like putting in Ninja, because the only way they can interact with it this turn is Vapor Snag. So I'm going to try that. If they have Vapor Snag, we get put pretty far behind, but if they don't, it's very, very good for us, so I think it's worth it to try. Alright, we get Vapor Snagged, unfortunately. We play out the Delver. We're drawing an island next turn, we know that from our Ponder. And they tap out for Spire Golem, okay? So they know we have the Ninja in hand because they put it back. So they put out a blocker so that we can't ninjutsu again this turn. And we will just pass the turn with Spell Stutter and Counterspell up. Alright, I'm going to attempt to counter this Ponder, just because I'm not sure our opponent will give us another option. They may just pass with Counter Magic of their own up. And there's a Delver of Secrets. Do I want to get rid of this as well? Yeah, probably. I'm going to try to anyway. See if they have another Force Spike. They gush, okay, so they're looking for a Force Spike. And they found one, okay. And they get to resolve their Delver. And another Ponder. Alright, they chose not to shuffle, so we probably do need to worry about this Delver flipping. Vapor Snag. Yes, we would love to reveal that card. Now we get to Vapor Snag away the Spire Golem and pick up our Spell Stutter to put a Ninja into play. So Vapor Snag was the absolute perfect draw there. Alright, here's the Ninjutsu. And we have Spell Stutter for 1 still available. Alright, another Spell Stutter. We really need to find another Vapor Snag, or preferably a hard counterspell to deal with Spire Golem, because our opponent just going land Spire Golem is pretty bad for us, since it means neither of our creatures can attack. And that's what they decide to do. So we could run out of Spell Stutter for no value, just to get another attacker on the board. I don't think that's worth it though, so I'm going to hold it. Alright, there's a Gush. I believe I'm going to start by leading off with Gush. I want to make sure this resolves. And I'd really like to dig for another Vapor Snag. Alright, there's a Preordain. Try that. Delver and Preordain. So I can set up a Delver to flip by putting Preordain on top and then Delver and drawing Delver. But no amount of 3/2s is going to get me past this 2/4, unfortunately. Unless I go very, very wide, but I don't think I'm going to have time to do that. So I will bottom the Delver and top the Preordain. Ponder and Force Spike, okay. Force Spike is worse when your opponent knows you could have it. So I'm going to ponder. I'm just going to keep on looking through my library and looking for something good. Preordain, ponder, ponder. I don't particularly want these cards. If I did take him, I could take a Preordain and put the other two on bottom for a fresh draw. But I'd rather just shuffle for a fresh draw. And we drew land. Alright, so we're doing pretty poorly here. If we're lucky, our opponent's doing poorly too, but they might not be, so we'll see. They get to resolve another Spire Golem. And now our defeat might just be inevitable. Our opponent can start attacking with one Spire Golem and leaving back another, and if they have a counter spell or two, then we're in a lot of trouble. We're going to have to try to double block a Spire Golem at some point, most likely. So let's start now. I'm going to try to flash in a Spell Stutter Sprite and block with my 2 flyers. There's a counter spell. Okay, so that's not going to work. If it did, they could only kill one of our blockers, so... They pass the turn. Alright, Spire Golem of our own. If they have a counter spell here, they are going to get a counter this. So should we wait till we have better protection than just a single Spell Stutter Sprite? Probably not, since that gives our opponent time to draw a counter spell anyway. So I'm just going to try it while I have the chance. And there's a hard counter. And I do not have 2 fairies, so I just have to pass. Alright, I'm going to try this trick one more time of double blocking to get one of these off the table. And if our opponent has Vapor Snag, they can get us by bouncing our Delver, but we'll see. Alright, we were able to trade a Delver for 1 Spire Golem. Opponent has their Bone Splitter now. And equips. Force Spike. Okay, well, pretty sure we're going to lose this game, unfortunately. We will do whatever we can to trade off here. They get their own ninja. Re-equip the Spire Golem. At this point, it doesn't really even matter that we have a Spire Golem because they have their Bone Splitter and they can attack past it. So we're hoping to draw yet another Spire Golem or maybe a Bone Splitter of our own. I could attack there and offer a trade with my ninja, but I don't want to do that. If I have a way of getting out of this game, it probably involves being able to connect with my ninja at some point. Alright, there's a ninja. So I'll start by attacking with Spire Golem and try to ninjutsu in a ninja. They probably see this coming, but I'm going to try anyway, try to dig deeper into my deck. And they have a Vapor Snag, unfortunately. Replace Spire Golem, hardcast a ninja. I could also save this to ninjutsu again, but right now I'm counting on drawing gas for the rest of the game and needing my mana. I think that's the only way I get out of this, is maybe a gush into multiple spells. Not going to chump block just yet. Spell Stutter Sprite. Alright, that can be a chump blocker. I'll start by attacking with 2 ninjas. No, I can't afford to do that. I'll attack with 1 ninja, I suppose, and offer a trade. get one of their creatures off the board. I'm going to have to trade Insectile Aberration for my Spire Golem here and then chump the big Spire Golem. Okay. Well, our opponent is being smart and not attacking with both because we can make this play. So we are not getting to eat an Insectile Aberration. Opponent has another Fairy Miscreant. And they now have... Yep, okay. We drew counter magic. We're dead. So against Mono Blue Delver, Spire Golems are very important, and Stormbound Geist is also very important. I'm going to remove one Vapor Snag because it's easily countered, and some of their stuff is not good to bounce, like the Spell Stutter Sprite and arguably the Ninja. And I'm also going to take out Gush. Gush is great for drawing extra cards, but I want to be able to win quickly, so I want to win before Gush is an option. And I also don't like it when my Gush gets countered. So against opposing counter spells, I want to get rid of Gush. We're going to be on the play, and we're going to try to win this. Yes, we would like to play first. All right, this looks perfect. We can either flip this turn 1 Delver, or we can ninjutsu in the Ninja. Or potentially turn 2 Delver, another Delver, or preordain into another 1-drop or something like that. Just because your turn 1 Delver of Secrets does not flip, does not mean you should automatically ninjutsu on turn 2. Against some decks, it's a good idea. Against others, it's not. I would probably try it against this deck. Fairy Miscreant. Okay, I'm not going to reveal that. I'm going to play a land and offer this trade. And if it's not taken, I probably will ninjutsu. Okay, they're willing to trade. Preordain. Look for another Fairy Miscreant. Perfect. So now if our Fairy resolves next turn, it'll draw us a card. And we'll also have 2 mana left over to ninjutsu and a Ninja. Opponent preordains. Bottom top. Cast their own Delver. Alright, I'm going to start off with Fairy Miscreant to make sure I draw a card, even if they decide to block here. Oh, actually, they can't block, can they? No, they cannot. Alright. Ninjutsu. And this is the dream here, is picking up a Fairy when you already have another Fairy on the battlefield. Because I played one, I drew a card. I get to ninjutsu this in, draw a card, and then if they don't deal with this Fairy, or the other one that's coming back down, I get to draw a card again when I recast it. Alright. Despite all that card draw, we are missing our turn 3 land drop. Actually, we just made it, didn't we? We played it first. Alright, opponent blind flips with Preordain and cast Ponder, so they still have a Preordain in their hand. They decide to shuffle. They cast the Preordain we just saw. And put both on the bottom, so I think they're looking for a land drop. Not going to chump block here. Alright, we're now in an excellent, excellent position. I can play a Fairy to draw a card, or I can leave up Force Spike and Counterspell. I think I want to be a little greedy and start with Fairy. I'd rather just leave up Counterspell. I think that's good enough against an opponent who's hurting on mana. I could also Preordain or Ponder to get into a land, but I guess I should start by attacking and see what the Ninja draws me. Alright, there's my land. So I can leave up Force Spike and Counterspell, or I can play a Delver in Counterspell. The worst thing my opponent could do is land, Vapor Snag the Ninja, and then Spell Stutter Sprite. And against that, I would like to have 2 pieces of counter magic instead of just 1. Although Spell Stutter Sprite can't currently Counterspell. So once again, be a little bit greedy, put a little bit more pressure out there, and then pass. Preordain, I'm going to let that resolve. I only care about Vapor Snagging creatures at this point, I believe. Alright, there's a Fairy Miscreant. I will counter this. Do I want to save a counterspell, or do I want to save my mana on future turns by using Force Spike? Our opponent's pretty pinched on mana right now. And we kind of are as well. But I think we have enough mana that we should just Force Spike this and save our counterspell. Ninja's probably going to get blocked this turn, but hopefully we can get in with 3 or 5 damage, depending on if this flips. Alright, no flip. That's an island. Start with Ponder. We're going to look for another Ninja. Ooh, a Vapor Snag. That's just perfect. So we'll go Bone Splitter last. Yeah, I think that makes sense. I don't want to equip that this turn. Vapor Snag, and this should be game. I get to draw a bunch, I get to resolve 2 Spire Golems, and then that should just be all our opponent will be able to handle. I could also just play 1 Spire Golem. Yeah, this is fine. This lets me leave up Counterspell. And here you can see what a big difference being on the play or draw makes. Also, our opponent missed land drops, which is a big factor, but being able to be the first person to play a creature or 2 before your opponent can makes your spell stutter sprite and your counterspells a lot worse. Or yours a lot better and your opponent's a lot worse. Alright, there's a Curse of Chains on our ninja. We will counterspell it. We did not bring in our Curse of Chains from the sideboard. I'm not really sure that that's correct either. I know it can deal with Ninja and Spire Golem, and also Stormbound Geist. Maybe it is correct. The problem with it is that you can bring them back to your hand with Vapor Snag. So Preordain into Preordain, just looking for some more counter magic here, basically. I suppose I could have killed my opponent this turn, but I was too busy talking about the matchup for it to matter. I could have played an equipped Bone Splitter. That was loose of me, but I don't think it matters. Okay, they can resolve that. That's fine. We still have lethal on board. All right, game 3. So do we want to take our opponent's advice and also boarding Curse of Chains? It's a way to deal with Stormbound Geist and Spire Golem for 1 card. However, as we said before, it can be Vapor Snagged, so they can get back their creature. I think on the draw, when our opponent knows about Force Spike, we could make that change. So let's get rid of our Force Spikes. Our opponent might still play around it anyway whenever we pass with 1 mana up, and we'll use Curse of Chains instead. All right, we get to draw a Stormbound Geist, which is pretty good. We have 2 Delvers. If we can just blind flip ours and our opponent does not flip theirs turn 1, that would be great. They've been a little bit luckier with that so far, but that's variance for you. Okay, they flip with the Preordain. And they do not cast it, representing Spellstutter Sprite or Counterspell. We fail to flip. Attack for 1 whole damage. And I don't think resolving a Delver here is that important. I'm going to hold up in Counterspell and Spellstutter Sprite of our own. Alright, I'm going to attempt to get rid of this with a Sprite. We're already behind, so I'm willing to take chances. Obviously that's bad if our opponent has another piece of counter magic, but we have to start trying something at some point. Our opponent goes bottom top with Preordain. And we get to reveal a Vapor Snag, which is very good. We would like to resolve that this turn to unflip the Delver and make them replay it, but we also really want Stormbound Geist to resolve. I suppose if we know they're playing Curse of Chains, Stormbound Geist isn't the back-breaking play that it would otherwise be. And also they might have Vapor Snags of their own still in the deck. So what will it be? Delver plus Vapor Snag or Stormbound Geist? I could also Vapor Snag and hold up and Counterspell as a third option. I believe I'm going to play Stormbound Geist. This plays well against Curse of Chains in that our opponent still can't attack with their 3/2 this turn, if they decide to do that, since it doesn't tap until my turn. Additionally, if they do decide to use Curse of Chains, then we have our Vapor Snag, as we mentioned while sideboarding, that can reset the Stormbound Geist and allow us to recast it. Okay, so they are going to snag the Geist, so that they can attack us down to 10. So they are winning the damage race, and they have mana up to counter a spell. Our Delver may have to stay back and block this turn. So I think what I'm going to do here is try to win the damage race with Spire Golem, because it blocks Insectile Aberration and it can also attack. And also, unlike Stormbound Geist, it only costs 2 mana this turn, which means I can leave open Counterspell and counter whatever our opponent's going to try to do right here to get rid of our Spire Golem. Alright, they have a Counterspell of their own. We are going to fight over this. And we'll see if they have another Vapor Snag or a Curse of Chains. I suppose even a Bone Splitter would let them force us to block. Alright, they have their own Stormbound Geist. Ninja the Deep Hours is a very good draw. So what I'm thinking here is Vapor Snag, Stormbound Geist. Attack with both. Whichever one our opponent does not block, we ninjutsu and ninja. And then we also resolve Delver of Secrets. The upside to that is we get to draw a card. They have to pay 3 more mana for the Stormbound Geist. And if they replay the Stormbound Geist, it can't even block the ninja anyway. I'm pretty sure that's a very good play, so I'm going to go for it. I could also go for the longer game and just play Stormbound Geist here and Delver of Secrets and wait to do stuff on my next turn, but I'd rather do this while my opponent is tapped out. So we'll lead with a Vapor Snag. We will attack for 5. See whether our opponent blocks. Hopefully they block the Delver. Perfect. And the reason we want this is because the Spire Golem is easier to replay as a 2/4. Not this turn, but eventually. Yes, we would like to draw a card. Another Vapor Snag. Resolve a Delver and pass. Now they know we have Stormbound Geist and Spire Golem in hand. They returned this one and we returned this one. And that can't block either of our creatures right now. I guess that leads to an interesting situation in this matchup where you don't want to flip your Delver of Secrets, because it can get past a Stormbound Geist if your opponent's at 1 life. I'm not going to reveal this either way because it is not an instant or sorcery. I will attack first, see if our opponent wants to Vapor Snag one of these, or if we get to draw a card. An island, okay. So this lets us cast Spire Golem for 1, and cast down Stormbound Geist, and have up Vapor Snag. It does mean we fall prey to a Force Spike, and that the Vapor Snag will not resolve, but we could always wait till our turn for that if we're really worried about it. Alright. They have a Vapor Snag of their own, which they're very patient with. They didn't get rid of our ninja. If I were them, I would have done that before we were able to draw a card. Alright, that resolves. They're at 7, and we are at 9. They have a Spire Golem of their own, a Bone Splitter, and we'll see if they equip or if they leave open Force Spike. Okay, they do equip. So I'm going to Vapor Snag one of these creatures right now. Actually, it does not matter. If our opponent plays a land, that means they don't have any cards in hand, and they can't. If I Vapor Snag Spire Golem, they go down to 6, and then they take 5 damage unless I can flip Delver, in which case they'll take the full 6 and they'll be dead. I'm pretty sure I want to go for that, and I'm okay taking 4 damage this turn. So you can have your Spire Golem back. I think I actually misplayed. If they play a land this turn, they can replay Spire Golem. Oh, that was really bad. Let's see if I get punished. Okay, I didn't get punished, though. I should have definitely waited till the end step and not gotten lazy there. If our opponent just goes land, then Spire Golem only costs 1. And we could have really messed that up. Alright, we can't reveal this, but we can ninjutsu it in to deal the full 6. So it works just as well. And we take down the mirror. Alright, that was fun. On to match 2.